everyone. Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you may be, and welcome to Gratitude Happy Hour. I'm Teri Angel. I'm here with you every Tuesday, and I try to have guests on that are enlightening and that we can have great discussions. And today is an example of what a great discussion looks like because I have with me the beautiful ShaRon Rea. ShaRon, welcome to Gratitude Happy Hour.
Oh, I'm very grateful to be here, Terry.
Yeah. I'm grateful that you're here and you're somebody that I've always held gratitude for you being in my life. You're such a light and you spread a lot of love and I want you to please explain. I know you're such a wonderful person as an entrepreneur because what you have chosen and that was chosen even long before you got here, I know, but what you do in this lifetime is spread love and you spread joy and you spread the message that we're all one through your no judgment, just love. So just take a moment and share with people who Sharon is and this beautiful movement that you have of no judgment, just love.
Thank you, Terry. And hello, everyone, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for tuning in to hear this amazing discussion that's going to happen between Terry and I, and hope you will be involved as well. My name is ShaRon Rea. I live here in beautiful, sunny, but right now very hot Scottsdale, Arizona. And I've been here for about 23 years, previously in New York and Maryland and St. Louis, but all in the United States. I am currently a family relationship and communication coach. Now, what does that mean? That means, like Terry said, I have chosen to use my coaching certificate and coaching skills focused on families. And the name of my business is The Whole Family. And very divinely, that word, that label, that title came in. And once I started playing with it and moving it around, I realized the word whole, WHOLE, is going to be very relevant, Terry, to our conversation today. But whole
Yes.
for me has three elements to it. The whole family begins with you. It begins inside you. It begins with your experiences, your perspective of life, how much you care for yourself first, how much you then outwardly can care for others, including the people in your own family, is the second level of whole. So once you understand yourself, you spend time with yourself, you don't judge yourself, you decide from your perspective where you want to grow and where you're not quite ready to grow, if there are those places that you've identified. The second ring of the whole family is the family of your immediate community. That's your own family, whether you're a parent or you have siblings, you're an aunt, uncle, and then the community that you live in. That's mine is Scottsdale. Wherever you are in the world, that's your community. And then the third ring is to move yourself up and out through our whole world and create wholeness in our world. So, three levels to the whole family. And the way I deliver my services is a beautiful way with clients to just be on the comfy couch of no judgment, just love. For
Yes.
me, that just feels like I'm going to snuggle up in this couch, not a couch like it used to be in the 60s and 70s where you were sitting on this hard thing and a man had his little notepad. Don't have that image. Have the image of something you're snuggling, if it's a blanket or a stuffed animal or just yourself, and you're kind of just relaxed. And we get to have a conversation.
Yes.
And the reason I coach in that way, with no judgment, just love as the foundation, is I find for myself and every single client that I have had the opportunity and the pleasure to work with, there are spaces within you where you're uncomfortable saying what's in your heart. You're uncomfortable explaining what's going on in your life. Maybe it's just traumatic to the point where you can't even talk about it. And I want to create a space for you to be able to celebrate what's going well. At the same time, you feel comfortable that this person, me, is not going to judge you for whatever you have to say. And so I deliver my comfy couch, used to be in person. Now
Right.
it's a virtual comfy couch
Mhm.
online, which is really just as useful because we're very, very private online. As Teri knows, we have a password for our Zoom. And working with families, my specialties are working with parents that are raising teens, a little bit of anxiety during that age, parenting after divorce, trying to come together again with two separate families. I just got this morning an opportunity to work again with grandparents who are raising their grandchildren. And that's a whole unique situation because you've kind of skipped a generation. You have some feelings about why your child is not in the picture and you're raising their children. And then single fathers. So I invite you to find me on thewholefamilycoaching.com, and you can see all the services that I provide. Now, Tara, I just want to share a little bit about No Judgment, Just Love before we get into
Please.
our conversation.
Yes.
No Judgment, Just Love came in as well, like I said, divinely as the forward foundation of the whole family coaching. And it has become not only the foundation for how I coach, but it's the motivation for me to how I want to live and show up in the world in those whole three family situations. And of course, we judge all the time.
See?
It's right, Terry? I mean, everything is judging from our perspective.
Mhm.
So there's nothing wrong with judging. It's comparing, it's evaluating, it's discerning. All of those words can be included in the conversation about how we decide we're going to live in our world, how we decide things about ourselves. I have to judge, do I want to wear this outfit or not?
Right.
And so please be willing because there's no judgment even on the judging. The challenge becomes to pause. We don't have, in my opinion, enough pauses in our world. I'm of an age where people used to speak slower.
Mhm.
We had to wait for the newspaper to arrive. We couldn't call someone and get a bit and get a signal that they can just see that we're calling. It was busy. It was busy. You're not talking to that person.
Mhm.
So we had a lot of pauses in our world. And right now, everything is quick and immediate. And so when you make those judgments, we've been conditioned to react
Mhm.
instead of taking a pause to respond or not.
Right. Yeah, that's so true, ShaRon. And it is a totally different world. And even like when I was young, we had one news show. So you waited for that news show. You didn't have it constantly bombarding you all day long.
Yes.
Yeah, so just the pause. I use that a lot with my clients. And, anybody that I'm talking to that's having some anxiety or something going on, stop and pause and just take that moment. It resets your brain, you
Yes.
know, gives you time to think.
And it gives you time to give gratitude.
Mhm.
Okay, and to honor yourself because we do judge. So
Yeah,
if you judge, I mean, I have judgments that I'm not going to speak out loud about.
yeah,
But I have them. I can't not have them. It's just that
right.
in the pause, I'm grateful for the pause
Yeah,
so that that doesn't just jump out of my mouth.
right, right. Well, ShaRon, I had a discussion earlier today, and um, it was brought out that most of what we do comes from our subconscious mind, not our conscious mind. So a lot of that judgment is there. It's not even, right here where we're thinking. We
Right.
have to really sometimes dig for that, don't we? To dig down and say, "Oh, wow, why is that a trigger? Or why do I feel that way? Why am I
Yes.
reacting or responding the way I am?"
And I'm going to be honest with this audience, and I'm usually very transparent, so this isn't unusual for me. But I give you a little caveat. Hopefully, this won't trigger you. but I had a trigger when we first were being asked to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where it came from because on the surface, I was very understanding that the mask was a two-way street. It was for me to protect myself, but it was also me to protect you. I mean, that's logical. But I had an enormous resistance to wearing that mask.
Mm-hmm.
And it had nothing to do with any taking of my freedom from American freedom. So, in my pausing, because that's a judgment, a very big judgment, I'm not going to do this. So, I'm like, ShaRon, why? And I think that's a real useful perspective is to get curious
Mm-hmm.
about what is coming up for you. Like you said, Teri, in your subconscious, it will show up. It's
Yes.
not totally hidden. It's going to show up in very inconvenient times.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take a pause and you start to learn who you are, that's why the whole family begins with you.
Mm-hmm.
You start to know, oh, that's outside of who I think I am, but it is who I am, obviously, because it's showing up.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, we all judge. We all have those judgments, but to what extent? And I think that's where things have gotten like an imbalance, a big imbalance in the world right now. And there's so much going on, ShaRon, and so many really blatant acts of, and it is a judgment, a
Mhm.
judging, that something shouldn't be the way it should be, and so then there's an action that follows that. So one of the things that I have been doing personally is really examining, how do I feel about this? And,
Mm.
where are those judgments sitting inside of me?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't consider myself a judgmental person. But then when I stop and really think about over my life, it's like, yeah, I really did do a judgment there.
Yeah.
And it's not something that we sometimes we think about that we're doing. We just do it because it's what we've always been used to doing, right? It just comes
Yes.
out.
And Terry, it's also what we may have become conditioned to
Hmm.
without realizing it. So there's that subconscious mind doing and giving us information that we didn't even know was there. And I'll give you an example. I live in Scottsdale, and Scottsdale, where I live, is not very diverse. So I think there's probably 3% Black and maybe 1 or 2% Native American, maybe 5% Asian, and everyone else is not that. And so I used to live in New York. I used to live in DC. I lived in St. Louis. I'm accustomed to many, many, many different cultures. My whole community where I grew up was the opposite, mostly Black, and everyone else was, I mean, not mostly Black, it was really half and half, Black and white. And I walked out of my door one night at around 8:30, and I could see this figure coming up the walkway, and the person had a hood on. And
Hmm.
for that quick moment, I got a little tense. I'm like, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? And it's not from my upbringing. It's not from the people that I know, but so much about that conversation maybe I have absorbed from the TV that I watch or the news
Right.
that I watch. And it has become a trigger
Hmm.
for me. So that was very illuminating, Terry.
Yeah, that's so true. That the media, and especially like the movies sometimes, and then that's in there. It's like I should be scared of that.
Yes.
If we see somebody with that the hood or whatever it may be, that we should be afraid, and that's what's been portrayed. And if
Yes.
we keep inundating ourselves with that type of energy, yeah, it's going to come up whether we're aware of it or not. That's being triggered inside of us.
And if we can see it and be curious that it's coming up for us to observe, it's coming up for us to make a choice, a personal choice. Is that something I continue to want to feel?
Yeah.
Or is it time now for me to do some personal activities, whatever that is, loving, non judgmental activities to help that dissipate and go away?
Right, right. Yeah, and the other thing that happens too is you mentioned it, our upbringing and what's been put in there in that subconscious. And like I grew up in a family that, oh my gosh, it was so judgmental, so critical.
Mm.
And if you weren't like us, if you were another color, if you were from the city, even, because I
Mm.
grew up in a very small town in the country.
Yeah.
So it's that old saying, if you're from the city or you're from somewhere else and you walk in, you take your life in your hands because you might get shot. And that's
Wow.
the kind of town I grew up in. So all of that conditioning is in there from a very early age that, you don't trust other people, number one, and trust has been
Mm-hmm.
big for me in my life,
Mm.
but also that people who are different from you, you know, you just keep a distance from them. That's
Yeah.
not, you don't mingle with them, you don't talk to them. And Sharon, it was very difficult to grow up with that attitude because from a young age, I knew who I was spiritually.
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
knew and had angels communicating with me all the time. So when I first, because we were mostly white where I grew up, but we
Mm-hmm.
did have the segment of the population that stayed on their side,
Of the tracks, right?
of the tracks and did not come out with the others. And when I first met someone of color that was different from mine, I'm like, wow, I want to get to know this person. That was my reaction. I want to get
Yeah.
to know this person.
Oh, look at you.
But I want to tell you, my dad pulled me aside, and what he said to me, I was I believe a sophomore or junior in high school, and he says, you don't have to go back to school. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, Terry.
And I made some of the most beautiful friends just from the that now I was getting to know. Oh, I am going to school.
It's almost a little rebel inside of you, Terry, huh?
Oh, yeah, big time. You just think I'm an angel.
There's an angel rebel, angel rebel.
But Sharon, I'm stating that because it's that conditioning that
Yeah,
sometimes we forget about those things. And then as we grow and we get older, and all of a sudden we're finding ourselves in that judgment of others and maybe not treating someone the same way we would treat somebody our own color.
right.
It's like it's just there until we examine it, pull it out and say, wait a minute, I am not comfortable with this at all being in me.
Yes.
Yeah, it can be changed. That's the
Oh,
whole.
absolutely. And I think in the conversation of trauma, in the conversation of being triggered by something that has happened in your past that was unspeakable or hurtful or traumatic, there's an imprint that goes, I believe, on your subconscious
It does.
that either it stays hidden until something triggers it, a sound, a smell, a place that you go to, and it triggers, I think, based on where you are in that moment. If you've been able to do what you say, Terry, which is to uncover, to really notice, and how do I deal with that? Otherwise, it's a very scary, I can imagine, event if it gets triggered and you don't have any tools, you don't have any, because it's visceral, the reactions. And I think that in my mind, is some of the activities that are going on in our country with the protests and the destruction of property. There might be, certainly, there are people that are just copycatting and that are there. There's a whole variety. So I don't think you can just pin one on the other. But there might be some people that have had a traumatic event and this is triggering their emotions so strong, and maybe they don't have the opportunity to, like we're having this discussion now, to be able to know, oh, that's what that is, what do I do with that? It's just, here I go,
Yeah.
I'm hurt, so I'm going to hurt you.
Yes. Hurt people hurt. Yeah.
Yes. And so I have very a very wide amount of experiences being called up for me with what's going on in our country now, Terry. And trauma is a huge part of it because even though I am Black and I come from Maryland, which is right outside Washington, D.C., where I lived, and I was a couple of, maybe a mile away from the riots of the 60s.
Hmm.
Um, that's in me,
Yeah.
but I was in and around many people that looked like me. And so there was no, I didn't hear any discussion about is ShaRon Black or not.
Right.
Well, now I'm here in outside of a lot of people that look like me, and even people that know me kind of don't recognize that I don't fit. I mean, they recognize I don't fit the description right now of the Black American experience, which
Hmm.
is insane because I'm a Black and I'm American and I've had an experience here.
Right.
So I get concerned with this conversation we're having about trauma that if we define things in such a narrow way, that people either want to fit in it because I want to belong, like you said, I want to be part of this community, or they don't fit in it. And now there's a huge amount of judgment within themselves and other people. Well, you're not Black.
Yeah.
That
Right.
doesn't fit. So there's a lot going on in my soul.
Yeah.
Judgment and love are having a little battle right now.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they are. And I have a feeling love is going to win.
Yes, every time,
Yeah.
every time.
Sharon, I can't even begin to imagine what it's like right now for you.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we want to do is involve people in deep discussion about this. We can
Yes.
only do so much here on the air in the time that we have. But Sharon mentioned her comfy couch, and we would love to invite you all to experience that, to experience her comfy couch in a safe environment. No recordings, nothing that's going to go outside of the room where we will be. And we can gather and do that with when you click that link that I put up, it says jot form. That will ask you for your name and your email address. And we will email you a Zoom link, just like what she and I are on right now. And you can come into that Zoom link at 3 o'clock this Friday, and we can continue this discussion and take it deeper and really allow anyone to speak whatever you want to speak in a safe place, respectfully, and open up. Just start to look at, what's going on inside of me and what's in there that maybe I wasn't even aware of, but I keep
Mhm.
doing stuff that, it's like not adding to the positivity in the planet. It may be adding more to the other direction.
Mhm.
So, and Deirdre says, love wins and see y'all Friday. Awesome. I'm so glad
Yay,
you're going to
Deirdre.
be there, honey. Yeah.
Yay. And I want to also just let everyone know who's this maybe has inspired you or you're considering it. This
Yes.
is not going to be a place, number one, obviously, where people have a vocal opinion about anything anyone says. This is not a place where somebody's going to disagree with you, coach you, try to change your mind. This is an opportunity for us to be in a private, safe space where we can do just what Teri and I were doing here is talk about what's in your heart, talk about where your challenges are, just to let it out. And then the people that are in the room get to experience someone else's experience, which automatically expands your view of the world. So it really is something that is hopefully personal, cathartic, releasing for you. And at the same time, those of us that are there that get to witness you, we get to learn as well.
Yes. Yes. There is no judgment, there's no criticism. And like Sharon said, it's not a debate. It's just for you to open up and be in that place where you can say anything.
Yes. You know, even and Terry, I want to share with people how important it is for me to have that space. Right now, there are people who are my friends that have known me for a while that are calling me and coming to me, and most of them are white, and they want to talk to me about what they're experiencing, what they're going through, what this is calling up for them. And each one of them have said, I know I can say anything I need to say in your presence, and you won't shun me. You won't shame me. You won't judge me. And I would like to have that space as well. So when you join in, you're kind of helping me as well, if that matters.
Oh,
It
that
does.
definitely matters. We all matter,
Yes.
and that's the thing. When we can start getting to a point of equality and seeing everyone for their importance, there is no one in this world that doesn't matter. We're
Yes,
all
Terry.
important. Sharon, you're part of the intentions group that I do, and we meditate. And in my meditation, I was seeing us, the ones that were there, with all of us being x-rayed, and we looked exactly the same on the inside. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how it is. That's how it is with everybody in the whole world. We look the same on the inside. It's just this mask that we have with this human body that masks that inside. And we have to release that. We have to release that concept that that's who we're talking to, instead of the spirit self that we're
Mm-hmm.
addressing. And no
Mm-hmm.
matter the color of the skin, the way that person is talking, where they're from. And it could be even somebody that you're in total disagreement with and not resonating with, still seeing them as that person inside is going to release any judgment that you're having about what they may be saying or doing. It's not for us to judge. We're
Mm-hmm.
all here. We're living out this life, because we decided to live it this way. We decided to be this person, just like Sharon decided to be black. I decided to be white. We came here for experiences, but we are here in this 3D reality as spirit. So when we keep that foremost in our minds, it makes it a little bit more clear about the judgment, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, it does. And you know, as you're talking, Terry, I'm thinking, even though we don't have direct relationship with some of the things that are happening in our world, like as far as I know, in this body and in this way, I was not present 400 years ago when slavery was, but I have a feeling I was there in a different body. But we all have some component of responsibility, I believe, and awareness that collectively we have created this that we're living in, consciously or not. We are a component of it. We are a we, and it's difficult to get away from that if you're in a spiritual perspective. And so from that, I don't feel like it's important for people to say, well, you have to apologize for this, or you have to take responsibility for the police, or you have to, whatever it is. I don't have to respond and apologize for their particular action, but I do benefit when I say, you know what? Somewhere in me, there's some anger. Somewhere in me, there's some divisiveness. Somewhere in me that is showing up in this world. So when I clean that up, and become aware of it and clean it up, then I contribute to
Yes.
the new world. I contribute to shifting this. And I want to just say how important that is to me, because I listen to people and they say, I want to do something. This is causing me to want to do something, but I'm not comfortable marching. And so I feel like I can't do anything if I'm not out there. There is a big give and there's a little give, and there are infinite amounts of gifts, actions that you can do in the middle. So even not saying anything, not doing anything is still a positive thing in my view. Because if you're not ready to speak and you're not comfortable, then if you do it and jump over that feeling, then you're not giving the pure essence of you. It's a shoulda, a coulda, a woulda, which gets muddied.
Right. And it's so important to acknowledge those emotions. If there is anger in there, acknowledge it. It's anger is not a bad thing
No.
at all. Not at all. And we all it's a human emotion. We are in a human body.
Yes.
So it's perfectly within the human experience to have anger, to have all of the spectrum of emotions. So if you're responding to what's going on in our world today, the injustice, the inequalities, then look at that and examine, okay, first of all, why am I angry? Why does this make me mad? And then if there is something that you want to go forward and do, then great, but do it after you've examined that motive of why you want to get involved. Like you were saying, Sharon, don't just and not know yourself what's
Mhm.
going on inside. That's the part that's
Exactly.
missing, I think.
I agree. And that's one of the components of our comfy couch opportunity is for you to, without interruption, without worrying that somebody's going to have an opinion about what you're sharing with us. So you can really hear out loud what you're thinking, what's coming up. Because sometimes when you're inward and you have those conversations, you can get a lot of information. But when you speak it out loud, your ears get to hear, your mouth is moving, all of these other components of you become a part of that statement that you're making. So it's just a very different experience. And when you can do it in the company and safety of people that are willingly there to witness you
Yeah,
without interrupting.
yeah, absolutely. And I love Tiffany's comment. She says, knowing ourselves is the most difficult thing we can do.
Yes, Tiffany, 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
When somebody said, "Oh, Sharon, you have to do some self-care and self-love," I was like, "What's that?" "Oh, I can go to the spa and do that." I can have an ice cream. I love myself.
Oh,
And
you're
then
my kind of girl.
and then when I realized it was an activity that was deep and difficult and what,
Yeah,
I was like, okay, this self-love thing, Tiffany, just like you said, it is not easy. But if we can be tender with ourselves and have no judgment for what comes up, I think it's a smoother road.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't wait for these discussions in the forum. So, those of you that came in and didn't get that information, this Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time, Sharon and I will be in a private Zoom meeting, and you're invited to come in, discuss with us, take this conversation a little deeper, and share with us. We want you to share. That's what it's for. There's no judgment, no criticism. You're welcome to come in. It's not a time that anyone's going to debate your point of view or put you down for anything that you might say. It's just an open, safe space for you. It's not recorded, it's not online. It is a very private space, sacred space for you to come into. And I did put it in the comments. It's the one that says jot form, and it is a link. And I will put it in again for any of you that might not still be seeing it. And when you fill this out, okay, when you fill it out, it just asks for your name and your email address. So when we get your email address, we can send you that private Zoom link for Friday, and all you do is just click on it and come to us, and you will
And then
be sitting
also
in the
if
comfy couch.
and feel willing and welcome that if you're inspired to come in and you don't really want to talk, you just want to be in the company of that, you are more than welcome. There's no requirement to talk. But there are some people that have some things inside where they really want to have them come up, and we want to make a space for you.
Absolutely, and maybe get a little better understanding. It's like I said earlier, I can't even imagine what you're going through.
Hmm.
So just getting a better understanding of, each other, but especially someone who's feeling that so intensely right now. And And I know it's not just right now. This is
Right.
something you've lived with your whole life.
Oh my
You know, the
goodness.
inequality and the injustice. So let's have an understanding, and I love that we will be able to talk openly and share with each other and show some love. That's always a
Yes.
big part of everything that I do is trying to encourage people to lift each other up. So that definitely will take place. That's a guarantee.
Yes, absolutely. Teri's there, it's there. And if I'm
It's
there, it's
there.
there.
Bring on the love.
Bring on the love. And Teri, I want to just give, I know that I see sometimes on Facebook, I don't always have a chance to respond. Um, you know what? Somebody's knocking at my door, and I do need to answer this. So talk amongst yourselves for just a second.
Okay, we shall do that.
Hello?
Ah, I just love all of your
I'm
comments and
good,
all the
Amanda.
love.
What's happening?
I love the love that you're giving to ShaRon right now.
I am. I'm on a Zoom call.
And
What's happening?
let me just do this. Okay. So she will be back after the phone call. But I just love all the love that you're giving. I'm reading your comments and I'm just seeing that there is compassion and there is that desire to open up more and to help each other through this. You know, one thing that I keep thinking is there's a lot of people talking and there's a lot of people that have opinions, and it's like, when is somebody going to do something about this? That's the attitude that I keep hearing from some of the videos. And you know, it's like sitting and waiting for somebody else to do something, and the time for sitting and waiting has passed. And this is something the angels told me, and I so agree. It's way past time to just sit on our butts and wait for somebody else. So it's time for us. It's time for us as a collective. It's time for the light workers to step up and to really examine ourselves, because some of what's being experienced with judgment is happening among the light workers. And it's time for us all to stop that and really look at, I'm adding to the problem. When I'm judging somebody else, I'm adding to the problem. When I'm criticizing another person, I'm adding to the problem. So, do we all want to just keep adding to that problem that's there? It's there, and it's not going to change until we do that self examination and say, wow, I am judging others. I'm adding to the problem. I'm criticizing somebody. So that's adding to the problem. Now, stop it and do something, whether it's voicing a positive opinion and helping to see what can happen for a solution, or stop criticizing and judging. That's adding to the solution. When you make a change, when we change inside, it does affect the outside world. So, yeah, it's time for all of us. It's time for everybody right now to get up off the couch and then come and get on ShaRon's couch.
Come to couch, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry I missed that. It sounded like a very important part of the conversation. But Terry, I want to just add to it that there are people that I don't mind being close to, like you, and I wish I was closer physically to you. But there are people that they're just not meant, we're just not meant for each other. And so to be able to, like you said, less judgment, obviously you're going to judge, but what do you do with that? Do you hold it and just see and let it boil and bubble? Or can you just say, you know what? Bless you and let you go. Go along your way. I don't need to understand what you're doing. I don't like it. It makes me annoyed, all of those feelings. But you know what? I don't need to get involved. Have a
Right.
nice day.
Yeah. Yeah. And take yourself out of the equation.
Exactly. And that's
Absolutely.
part of a solution. That's actually doing something.
Yeah.
You know, every action that we have as humans is doing something. So I get triggered when things like what's happening in our country and people are saying, well, if you're not speaking out, you're part of the problem.
Mm-mm.
No. I'm not speaking out because I'm not quite sure first what I want to say.
Yeah,
I'm not speaking out because what I have to say is better done in a smaller space where you may not know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm not speaking out though.
That's right. ShaRon, one of my mentors, it's somebody that really pulled me up out of the dredges and set me on the right track, is Lisa Nichols. And I don't know if you're familiar with
Yes.
Lisa Nichols. And I saw a video, it was about a week, maybe a week and a half ago. She was being so criticized for not speaking out. And she said, I needed to go into my prayer time.
Yes.
I needed this. And I'm sorry that you all can't understand that.
Yes.
So that's what's needed is like you said, go inside and say, wow, this just happened. And then figure it out inside first before you speak. It's that pause. It's the
Yes.
pause.
It's the
Yeah.
pause. It's the pause. And it's also interesting, Terry, as you speak about Lisa Nichols. I think two things are going on. Number one, we don't know who we are, and we are conditioned in this country, I believe, to look outside of ourselves for just about everything. And when you don't know quite who you are, or you're confused, or it's bothering you, then you look for what people are deeming leadership, somebody else to tell me. So that gives you some permission to judge people. Well, Lisa, you're a leader of the Black community. Why aren't you talking? Or ShaRon, you're a leader. Why aren't you talk? Well, you know what? I don't need to be your leader in this. When I have
Right.
something to say, I will say it. But in the meantime, you have a responsibility as well to speak out. Don't wait for someone else, and then don't judge someone else if they're not, because there could be 1,000 reasons. She's in prayer. Maybe somebody's got a cold. I mean, who knows why people aren't speaking out? And for you to define one narrow space when there's an infinite amount of reasons that you have no idea about isn't fair to you, because it causes you to have an opinion and a feeling, and it isn't fair to the other person.
Absolutely. Amen, sister.
Amen and hallelujah.
Hallelujah. We're going to have church here.
Exactly. Terry, I do have to say
I
I'm
know.
grateful and
We have
so
to end
long to
this.
everyone for this moment. Thank you to
Yeah.
everybody who's been online. I have another webinar that I have to be on in about 10 minutes. So I have to
Yes.
spruce up and just clear energy and get started again.
That's right. And ShaRon, I appreciate this more than you know. This was beautiful spending time with you.
Yes,
And I know
yes.
people have already filled out the jot form because I get a notice on my phone when that happens. So so it
Yay.
kept popping up, you have a new submission and I'm like, "Yes."
Yes. And I think it's okay with you, Tara. We've tried to kind of limit it to maybe around 15 people. So there's a healthy opportunity. I want 40 people. You can't really have a
Right.
quiet time with that many. But I think it's okay to say if you have a friend or you know someone who wants to join in, please, Terry, with your permission, send them the
Yes,
link.
absolutely. Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
Do it, baby. I love you all. No judgment, just
Oh,
love. Have a beautiful rest of your day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are.
Sharon, I love you so much.
I love you
And
too, Terry.
thank you to everyone that tuned in today. And we'll see you on Friday. So bye,
Yes.
everybody.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
Sharon.